happens is, this story is about creative thinking and tackling problems. So what happens is we get stuck at many problems throughout the day, and the general reaction after that is anger and frustration. But what if we look, a moment, what if we stop for a moment to ponder over the problem? So let us see what happens. In a small Italian town, some hundreds of years ago, a small business owner owed a large sum of money to a loan shark. The loan shark was very old, unattractive looking guy that just so happened to fancy the business owner's daughter. So the loan shark decided to offer the businessman a deal that would completely wipe out his debt. However, the catch was that he would only wipe out the debt if he could marry the businessman's daughter. Needless to say, this proposal was met with a look of disgust. The loan shark said that he would place two pebbles into a bag, one white and one black. The daughter would then have to reach out in the bag and pick out a pebble. If it was black, the debt would be wiped off, but the loan shark would then have to marry her. The pebble, white pebble, the debt would be wiped off, but the daughter won't have to marry the loan shark. So standing on a pebble-strewn path in the businessman's garden, the loan shark bent over and picked up two pebbles. Whilst he was picking up, the daughter noticed that he would pick up two black pebbles only and place them into the bag. He then asked the daughter to reach out to the bag and pick one. So here is the catch. Both the pebbles in the bag are black pebbles. So whatever pebble the loan shark picks out, the girl would have to marry that person. So in this case, the girl has to think creatively. So what does the daughter do? The daughter naturally had three choices: refuse to pick the pebble from the bag, or take both the pebbles out of the bag and expose the loan shark for cheating, or pick a pebble from the bag fully well knowing that it was black and sacrifice herself for the father's freedom. So what does she do? She drew out a pebble from a black bag and before looking at it, accidentally dropped it into the midst of other pebbles. And then she said to the loan shark, "Oh, how clumsy of me. Never mind. If you look into the bag for the one that is left, you will be able to tell which was the pebble that I picked." So this was very smart for the girl. The pebble left in the bag was obviously black. And seeing as the loan shark did not want to be exposed, he had to play along as if the pebble the daughter dropped was white and therefore clear her father's debt. So what I'm trying to say is, it is always possible to overcome a tough situation throughout by out-of-box thinking and by not, giving in to the only options you think you have to pick from. So in life also, every day we face a lot of problems. And what we can do is, we can wait for a moment, think about the problem, and come out with creative solutions. And we don't have to always go with the problem, with the solution that first comes into our mind, because that may not be the best solution that we have in our hand. So I hope you like the story. If you like the story, just mention it out in the comment section. That would motivate me. And as Madhav sir is ready, we can resume with the session.
Thank you so much, Abhijit, for the wonderful story. I hope everyone is back by now. We can move on. And I too had a story to share, but I think I'll share it by the end of the session because we have had a good number of stories for now, and they must be looking for the content next. So I believe everyone is joined, and I'm starting with the next thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so the next thing is passing arrays to functions. Why do we need it and how do we do it? A very important aspect of arrays, as we know, is that it can store a large number of data which is of similar data type together. It can bind them all together. Now, why do we need arrays to be passed as a parameter inside the function? Well, we needed to pass it as a list of values. When we need multiple values to be passed together to a function, we can pass it through a function. We can pass it through an array. Now, this actually saves our code from becoming very complex. Now, imagine I had to pass some 20 values inside the function as an argument. Specifying 20 values inside the function as an argument, you can just imagine how a function looks and how would it look like actually to pass some 20 values inside this if I pass on. So I can save that complexity or that cumbersome view of the entire code of passing so many values over here separated by commas by simply passing an array as an argument from the function. Now how do we do that? We will see that now. We have three approaches for that. The first one being by declaring array as the parameter of the function. By declaring array as the parameter of the function. By this I mean I can declare over here array as the parameter. Instead of this integer a normal variable, I can declare over here an array instead of a normal variable. Another approach is by declaring pointer in the function to hold the base address of the array. Now I just want you to visualize before I show you the code. Another approach is to over here create a pointer. And for example, I create a pointer over here. I make a pointer of this a. And this a will actually store the information of another variable. Now that another variable that we will be passing over here, let's say that is a. So this a has to be an array that will be held by this pointer variable a. The next way is pass array's base address to the function. Just like we have passed the variable's base address to the function, we can also pass the array's base address to the function. Okay, so instead of passing now there is one more important thing. When I say pass array's base address to a function, whenever we are dealing with arrays, we never see call by value. We will always see call by address. Now, when we already say that we can never pass an array by call by value, it will always be passed as call by address. So what is special about this third type, that is pass arrays base address to the function? That also we will see. So we will see all these codes one by one. I again want you all to close your eyes for a minute and try to visualize these things as I say. Declare array as the parameter inside the function. Let's say the add function. Now declare array as the parameter. Okay, I believe you have been able to visualize. Ensure that your eyes are still closed to focus. Second, just try to visualize you're declaring a pointer inside the function, inside the add function, which is holding the base address of the array. So the function that is being called from the main function, during that call you're passing the address, the array's base address. The third category is passing array's base address to a function. Okay, now this time we are not using a pointer. Now all these approaches have one thing in common. That one thing common is we never pass the values as directly when we are dealing with arrays in a function. We always call them by the address. Okay, call them by the address. Again, would like to remind you, do not say call by reference when we are talking about C. Why do we do so? We do so to ensure that the complexity is reduced and the function's parameter, whichever is holding the value of array, has the access to array's address. Because if I give the access of address of that variable, in that case, a parameter only needs to know one value. If I pass them as by values, in that case, the complexity will be increased. And then there will be no purpose of, creating an array and ensuring a rule on C that it cannot be passed by value. Because what we are trying to do over here is we want to pass multiple values as a list, and we want to reduce the complexity of the code by not mentioning all the things over here. So that is the reason we always pass the array by their address and not by value, so that a single variable capable of holding one value, that is the address, and from that address value it has access to all the consecutive values inside the arrays which are stored. I hope this thing is very clear to everyone. Never pass arrays information as by value. It will always be passed as the address, irrespective of whether I mention here a pointer sign, irrespective of whether I mention this array sign or whatever. We will see that. We'll see the program for the arrays part. Okay, I hope the screen is visible to everyone. Now this is the code for us. In this, what we are doing over here is I would like to focus on the main function at first. I'm creating an array over here and it has got these 5 elements. So this is the way we create an array of type integer. Now what we are doing is we are passing this array variable as an argument, as an actual parameter, by giving a call to array parameter named function and storing the result in the variable AVG, that is for average. Okay, the names I have given so that intuitive enough for you to understand what we are going to do. We are going to calculate the average of the values that we are passing over here. Okay, not in this case, in the next problem that will be solving. So in this case, we are doing some form of manipulation. I am passing some list of values. Those are integer types as an array value. And this ARR is the name of the array. This I am passing as an argument or an actual parameter to array parameter. Now, coming to this function that has been just called, it has a parameter created in the form of array. Here, the name need not be same. I have created over here as ARR. Of course, this is your actual parameter, and this is your formal parameter. The name need not be same, but the type should be same. This is going to accept the values only when they are in array form, and the data type is integer. So integer type of array values it is going to accept. Now when we pass all these values as a single variable, it is only possible because it is an array. When I pass them through an array, when this function is called, we also have a variable size which is containing the number of elements, denoting the number of elements, so that is 5 in this case, and a variable sum which I have initialized to 0. In this problem, we are going to actually calculate the sum of all the values which are stored in array. So 10 plus 20, 30, 40, 50, all to be added. Okay. I just made a mistake here. I had to change because I created 2 programs out of this single program. I forgot to change the name as sum over here. Anyways, so the intention was to highlight that whenever we write a code, declare variable names, function names, such that any third person who is trying to read your code can easily decode it, what this function may be, what this variable may be. We have to come over the practice of A and B to give some intuitive idea to the third person who is trying to maybe read our code, or maybe he may be the tester or whatever. Okay, so inside the for loop, I am iterating over through the variable I that we have just created inside this for loop, and it should be lesser than the size of the array. The index position is 0, size is, so we know over here it will be 5 that has been created, so it should be 0 to 4. So 0 to 4 would mean all the 5 elements would be covered. Okay, and then inside the for loop, what we are doing is sum is initialized to 0, and we are adding each value of the array that has been received over here. The first value is initially the 0th index, the first value added to sum. So 0 plus something, that is 10. Then again this will go on. So 10 plus 20 plus 30, 40, 50 will go on. Finally, it will print the total sum value for us. Okay. Now this way of passing parameter, that parameter as an array, is very useful because I had 5 variables to be passed and I did not create 5 separate parameters over here. I had a single parameter. I created it as an array and I could simply pass the values because those were the values held by an array itself in the main function. So this reduces the complexity a lot. Now this is one way of writing this program. Another way could be that as you give a call to array parameter function, just below, just next to this, you can also give some numerical value. If you're already aware of the size of the array, let's say in this case 5, I can give that as 5 over here in this case. If I'm giving this as 5, I will need another parameter to hold something like this. I can give it as n. In that case, what will happen is I will get rid of the size variable that I had to create outside, like inside the function, but not inside the parameter definition. So inside the for loop, I can straight away make use of n instead of creating a variable. This I am only highlighting you to show different approaches which can be practiced in order to get the same solution. Just different way of thinking to get same solution. Okay, we will try to compile this code. The code is array as function parameter. Executable file is created. Okay, so the total sum is 150. Okay, so the total sum is 150 in this case. We will move on to the next case. That is again of arrays in this over here. And what we will be doing here is that we will calculate the, we will make some more changes. We will have multiple functions created, each one showing some different purpose. The first one that we have seen here inside the parameter of array parameter function, we have created an array as a parameter. I had told you we have three ways declaring array as a parameter of the function. We will see the remaining two now. So moving on to the next part, the next code, we have created here three functions. The intention is to tell you how we can pass the values in different formats. So this is like one of the case, the same basic case that we have just followed. I am creating the parameter as an array inside the function. This is another program that we have moved towards, guys. So in this program, I have created three array functions, array function 1, 2, and 3. The first one I'm creating parameter as an array. Okay. Second one, I am creating a pointer variable. Okay, again, this variable will be capable of holding the address of the array which is passed. The third variable that we have over here, the third function, sorry, we have over here has an array parameter which seems to be some multi-dimensional array that is being passed. So yes, we can also pass arrays as multi-dimensional data, not just single-dimensional arrays, but multi-dimensional as well. So we will see all of that through this code now. Okay, coming to the main function, we have created an integer type of array, single dimensional with 4 values. And what I will be doing is, I will print the value at the first position here, just to understand that the first value is 3 or not. Then I'm calling the function array function 1 with the array as the argument. So this ARR that is holding the array for us is passed as a actual parameter or the argument. Argument to which function? To this first function, array function 1. And this array parameter is capable of taking that as an input. It will iterate over those values and give you the results over here. So we will compile the code at first and see whether what output are we getting, are we getting the same thing or not. And then we will see the other types as well. The first statement that I wanted to be printed was the index zeros value. So that was 3. And then I've printed all these 4 values because we have been able to iterate over all the values. In this function, we have been able to iterate over all the values using a for loop. Now this for loop is iterating over the value that has been given. This was the manually supplied value. So this can also be taken as the runtime value, whichever we wish to. The next thing is another important thing. Over here, we have created an array. We have tried to manipulate an array value, that is whatever is the input received to this array parameter. We have tried to manipulate the values at index 2. If we make any changes at the index position values which have been passed on to this array, then the same changes will also be reflected in the original call. The same changes will also be reflected in this array that we have passed. The simple reason being that we have already seen how this concept of call by address works as. The call by address concept works such that you already know the address of a particular variable. For example, this is variable A holding some value of 5. This is a variable B. Now, since I already said you that what we are doing over here in array is we are passing the address. We are not passing the value. So it is a call by address. So if I change the value here, that same change will also be reflected for this copy. Because if I make this 5 as 6, the same copy will also be available to A. considering this is an array, there are multiple values as well, which I'm not writing. So let us run this code now and see whether it is really bringing the change in or not. Sorry, okay, I had to actually uncomment this because we are printing that value again. So in order to check whether that change has been reflected or not, I'm running this code again. Okay, I have to give a print statement again and check the value of ARR of 2, because that has been manipulated as 111. So do I see that change happening over here? Yes, I do see. That value has been changed. You can see the value at index 2 is now 111. So now ARR is also holding the same value which this array parameter has been given access to. This array made the changes so that so the other array, the original array, the actual argument also had to encounter the same change operation. Okay. Now we will move on to the function 2. The function 2 is created such that we have created a pointer to store the array information. पहले वाले में क्या किया था, array create किया था. इसमें हम लोगों ने array denote नहीं किया, हमने एक pointer denote किया. ठीक है, हम क्यों कर सकते हैं ऐसा? क्योंकि हम लोग anyways it is a call by address, हम लोग address ही ले रहे हैं, हम लोग call by value ही नहीं रहे हैं, which is not allowed in case of array to reduce the complexity. So I can write it in the form of this and this. Okay, but you have to remember that this will only be then capable to take inputs which are already in the form of arrays only, whereas this, that is pointer, is capable of handling any kind of input as long as it is the call by address. Okay, so it has got multiple options or domain available to it. But whenever we are dealing with arrays, as a standard or good practice, we should always try to pass it as an array so that anyone reading the code also understands. We should restrict to specification. It is an array, we should go for that. But this is also a feature, so we will see that quickly. Okay, so this is a function 2 creating a parameter of type pointer. It has a for loop. It is iterating over the values and printing some value. Again, it will be making some changes at some index position. So we will see that what it is. Now I think I can comment out this part, not needed for us. Okay. And we are going to make 2 consecutive calls to array function 2 by passing the value of this array. So this array is again passed as a parameter, as a normal variable, जैसे हम लोगों ने function call 1 में किया था. इसमें भी बस नाम दे दिया है. लेकिन क्योंकि ये array type का है, तो इसको ये जो asterisk ptr notation से हम लोग जो variable create करेंगे, pointer variable, it will be capable of accepting that as an input. अब ये क्या करेगा? It will iterate over all the values on how many number of values, जितने उसमें values हैं, and it will print all the values one by one. Now, since we will be iterating through the pointer instead of an array, in the case of array, I can write in this way, array of I. In the case of pointer, I have different ways in which I can write. Either I will need to write in the form of this ptr, either I can write in this format, or I can also write in the format which we originally wrote. So this is one and the same thing that we have written. It only denotes that this pointer is capable of iterating each value. So it will, since this pointer is holding the value of the address, it is holding the address actually, not the variable's value, but the address. So this is currently pointing to some variable or to some starting location address. And now this I will help us to iterate over all the values which are stored consecutively. So this is initially 0. So it will help us to point towards the first element and print that for us. Similarly, in the second phase, the I will be 1. So it will help us, this pointer will help us to point to the second element inside the array, and so on. So this is one of the way how we denote it. And inside this function again, I've tried to manipulate the second index value, the index number 2 value. I'm trying to change this. So let us see how it goes, whether we really see that output or not. Okay, so you see the output printed over here is 3579. So far so good. Normal printing things were done. The second round of printing statement started from 35, that is index 0, 1, and index 2 value is changed to 999. So that change is possible because of this, that we have just made the change. So हम लोग in the case of pointer we can denote in this format. In the case of array, we know like how to access an element, array, and then in square bracket we write down the index position. For this also I've showed you the other way how we can access it. Moving on to the next part, that is the third function. It is going to accept two-dimensional array. So it will have 2 for loops for iterating over rows and columns. So and then it will print the values. So now again I can comment out this part not useful, so not needed to us, array function 2. And we will come to the last part of the execution, that is array function 3. Okay, now this also can be commented out. The single dimensional array, as we need this two-dimensional array. So I've created this two-dimensional array, 2,13 and 9,13. So they will have their respective rows and column value, which can be iterated over by I and j for row and column. So we will pass this two-dimensional array through a normal call. जैसे हम लोगों ने बाकी function call किए थे, we have called this function, just pass this as a variable. Although it is a dimensional array, but we have passed this just like that. और इसमें सारे values पे iterate करेगा function 3 में, and it will give us a result. Okay, we will see that. Okay, row number 1, column 0, 9. Row number 1, column number 1, that is 3. So this is the way how it has been able to iterate. We have also been able to pass a two-dimensional array as the parameter through a function. Now I would just want you to go through this code once. Just read the 3 functions for a while. You may take 30 seconds just to read and absorb the 3 types of array passing values that we have just seen over here. Okay, all right. We'll move ahead. I hope the concept of arrays was very clear to everyone. Now another very powerful tool that we have, that is variadic function. In a case where we are not sure about the number of parameters that will be needed by a function, in that case we go for variadic function. It is a function which accepts variable number of arguments. So when I'm not sure that how many elements will be a part of my array of my function, I do not know कि इसके बाद में और कितने variables आएंगे, I can make use of variadic function. So if I want to denote a function as a variadic function, what I can do is I can define a first variable as a compulsory variable, which is a minimum requirement. A function should have at least one parameter, a compulsory parameter. And after that, if you're not sure how many variables you will be passing as an argument to this function, you can denote this function as a variadic function by writing 3 dots. By writing 3 dots inside the function, after the first parameter, you denote that this function is now a variadic function. So now we'll see a case of variadic function. We'll see some properties, how it is used, what are the compulsion things to be included for the program to run file with this condition. We'll see that. For this, we have to import stdarg.header file. So this is the standard argument header file that we have to include. So the variadic function is a part of this, a code written as a part of this file. The variable number of arguments, as I said, are represented by 3 dots. We get a motivation for this kind of a function from the print function that we use normally. हम लोग print function में क्या करते हैं, जैसे अभी मुझे मैं जब print function में लिख रहा हूँ कि the value at %d is %d. It means I am creating space for any number of arguments which will come over here, depending in the case. For example, I will say the value at percentile d is percentile d, but not, let's say I'm just writing something, but not percentile d. And I can also write but also percentile d. So what I'm doing is, as and when the requirement kept on changing, I kept on adding the number of variables over here, the number of arguments in the case of print function. For the same, I also need to pass on the variables which will correspond to this type of data, that is the integer type. So if I'm writing here to format specifier, I need two variables from where the values can be fetched. If I'm passing four, format specifier, I need four variables. So you see how I'm able to increase the print function. मैं हो सकता है मैं कभी एक ही आर्गुमेंट की एक ही वेरिएबल की जरूरत हो, कभी हो सकता है 2 3 4 कितने के भी हो, तो ये हम लोग वेरी कर पा रहे हैं. सो ये प्रिंट फंक्शन से थोड़ा सा मोटिवेशन मिलता है. सो देयर कुड बी अ रिक्वायरमेंट जहां पर हमको रन टाइम पर पता चले या पूरा कोड बनने के बाद पता चले क्योंकि इसको इतने रिक्वायरमेंट लग सकते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल आई एम creating a function to store students details. Now student details initially I feel okay, roll number and name is enough. Later on I feel नहीं जेंडर बेस्ड इन्फॉर्मेशन भी होना चाहिए. लेटर ऑन आई फील नहीं लोकेशन वाला भी होना चाहिए, क्योंकि अब कोविड के बाद जब कॉलेजेस खुलेंगे तो कौन कहाँ से आ रहा है उसका इन्फॉर्मेशन मेरे पास होता है कि अगर कोई रेड जोन से आ रहा है सो आई कैन पे स्पेशल अटेंशन ऑन, वी कैन एग्जेम्प्ट स्टूडेंट्स, ऐसा हो सकता है ना. सो ये हमको बाद में पता चलेगा बाद में अगर आइडिया. सो व्हेन वी आर नॉट श्योर हम लोग 3 डॉट्स के साथ में उसको वेरिएडिक फंक्शन डिक्लेयर कर देते हैं. Now what are the steps? ये कुछ compulsory steps है that we have to take care of. इसमें कुछ strict notations है, those have to be followed, but very easy to implement. The first thing is we always initialize an argument pointer which is of type VA list. मतलब ये एक data type हो जाता है VA list नाम का, जिसकी वजह से हम लोग एक argument pointer create करते हैं. मतलब इस type का एक argument pointer create करते हैं जिसको प्रोग्राम में starting entry दिलाता है VA start नाम का एक और डेटा टाइप. अब VA स्टार्ट का काम क्या होता है एक्चुअली कि हम लोग जो वेरिएडिक फंक्शन लिखेंगे उसको ग्रीन सिग्नल देना कि वहां से वो अपना काम स्टार्ट कर सके. So this will have VA start will have the first compulsory value held with itself. Then thereafter, the VA list will have the first compulsory argument that is held with itself. And then thereafter, after the compulsory arguments जो मैंने 3 dots लिखे थे जिसमें कितने भी elements आ सकते हैं, वो सारे optional arguments के लिए we can access them through VA_ARG. Okay, so VA start will give a permission for VA list to access the address of the first variable that we have with us, the first value that we have with us, the first argument, and VA_ARG will give access to successive calls thereby for all the optional arguments that we supply thereafter. और जब हमारा फंक्शन एंड होने आ रहा है, जस्ट बिफोर वी रिटर्न दी वैल्यू, वी रिटर्न सम इंफॉर्मेशन, उसके पहले हम लोग इसको एंड करते हैं बाय स्पेसिफाइंग VA_end. तो हम लोग VA लिस्ट टाइप का एक पॉइंटर बनाते हैं, उसको एग्जीक्यूशन में लाते हैं विद द हेल्प ऑफ VA स्टार्ट. उसके बाद में जितने भी जो कंपलसरी एलिमेंट है वो हम लोग VA लिस्ट में रहेगा, जो ऑप्शनल आर्ग्यूमेंट्स है वो हमारे पास आएगा VA आर्ग्यूमेंट के थ्रू हम लोग आइटरेट कर पाएंगे. VA आर्ग्यूमेंट विल हेल्प द VA list to iterate over all the elements. And at the end of the function, just before we return the value, we write VA_end. Since this is something important but very interesting, so I'm going a bit slow on this part. Okay, we are good to see the code now. Okay, now in this function that we have just created, the intention is to add the values which are stored over here, the values which we are supplying as an argument. तो हम लोगों ने इसमें क्या किया है कि एक फंक्शन बनाया है which is variadic function. How do we come to know? क्योंकि इसमें एक पैरामीटर तो है, लेकिन उसके बाद कॉमा के बाद में 3 हमारे पास में डॉट्स है. So these 3 dots denote that it is going to be a variadic function. We also have a similar concept in Python as well, those who have studied. कि हम लोग किस तरीके से वहां पर एक वेरिएबल को हम लोग स्पेशल पैरामीटर की तरह डिनोट करते हैं by giving it a asterisk notation in Python. So in C just a change of syntax, same logic. 3 डॉट से रिप्रेजेंट करना है कि आगे कितने भी आ सकते हैं, देख लेना, बी रेडी। तो नाउ द कंपाइलर विल स्टार्ट ट्रीटिंग दिस एज अ वेरिएडिक फंक्शन। अब इसमें क्या करना होगा कि हम लोग सबसे पहले VList टाइप का एक वेरिएबल बनाएंगे। VList एक डेटा टाइप है which is going to pinpoint the value, the first value, जहाँ पर हम लोग, जहाँ से सारे सीक्वेंसेस ऑफ आर्ग्यूमेंट पास होंगे। तो पहला जो ऑप्शनल आर्ग्यूमेंट रहेगा वहाँ, वो इसके जो पहला आर्ग्यूमेंट रहेगा वो इसके पास में आ जाएगा, ठीक है। अब integer I and sum we are using because we are going to make use of that in the for loop. After VList, the next important thing to note is we have made use of VA underscore start, and in this we are passing the VList item AP, and then we are passing the count value. Now this count value I have written is to denote a significance of this parameter. हम लोग जब भी वेरिएडिक फंक्शन का यूज करेंगे एज अ स्टैंडर्ड प्रोसेस, हम लोग जो सबसे पहला कंपलसरी पैरामीटर होता है वो कितने नंबर ऑफ आर्ग्यूमेंट्स हम लोग पास करने वाले उसकी इंफॉर्मेशन देते हैं। तो ये जो काउंट वेरिएबल है यहाँ पर, जो काउंट पैरामीटर है, इट विल टेल द कंपाइलर कि कितने आर्ग्यूमेंट्स के लिए रेडी रहना है। तो दिस सेम काउंट इज टू बी रिटर्न हियर, कि अब ये जो AP है दैट इज अ VList टाइप, दैट विल आइटरेट ओवर दीज मेनी नंबर ऑफ वैल्यूज, ठीक है यहाँ तक। नेक्स्ट इन फॉर लूप, नाउ वी विल आइटरेट ओवर ऑल द एलिमेंट्स दोज आर देयर। तो कितनों पर आइटरेट करेंगे, जितने नंबर ऑफ एलिमेंट्स होंगे उतने पे। सो दैट शुड बी that I should be less than the number of elements because the index is starting from 0. Inside the for loop, now with the help of VAARG, we will be iterating over each and every value. Those are optional values, ठीक है। तो VList हमारे लिए क्या काम कर रहा है, जो पहला कंपलसरी एलिमेंट है उसको हमारे पास लेके आ गया। उस कंपलसरी एलिमेंट में से हमको ये इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल गई कि कितने नंबर ऑफ एलिमेंट्स होंगे। अब VARG की मदद से हम लोग क्या करेंगे, जितने भी एलिमेंट्स है उनके ऊपर आइटरेट करेंगे, इसके थ्रू AP के थ्रू, विच इज ऑफ टाइप VList। जिसने हमको पहला कंपलसरी दिला है वही हमको बाकी के फॉर्मल भी दिलाएगा। Over here we have to specify a data type, which kind of values it is going to iterate over. So those values should be similar type. It is integer type. So what will happen is sum is initially 0. It will access the values which are passed as count. Those values are 3, 4, 5, 6. So these 4 values are passed directly as values inside this add underscore var underscore arg function. तो ये 4 वैल्यूज आ रही है, मतलब काउंट यहाँ पर रहेगा 4, ठीक है। तो उतने नंबर ऑफ वैल्यूज 3 + 4 + 5 + 6 ऐड होंगे, सम में स्टोर होगा। अब देखो ये फॉर लूप एंड हो गया। जस्ट बिफोर वी रिटर्न द फाइनल सम, वी आर राइटिंग VA underscore end, and we are passing the value as AP. Fine. Similarly, we have also made a call to the same function with more number of values. So more number of values are passed over here. अब आप देखो इन दोनों केस में मैंने क्या किया है, जब मैंने पहला कॉल दिया मैंने पहला नंबर लिखा है 3 टू डिनोट दैट 3 वैल्यूज आर गोइंग टू बी पास लेटर ऑन। क्योंकि जब मैं ये आर्गुमेंट पास कर रहा हूँ तो अब तो मुझे क्लियर है कि मुझे कितने आर्गुमेंट पास करने हैं। सो आई एम इन अ पोजीशन आई कैन स्पेसिफाई द नंबर ऑफ आर्गुमेंट। मैंने 3 लिख दिया, कंपाइलर इज रेडी फॉर टू रिसीव अ काउंट ऑफ 3, so it should iterate, AP should iterate over 3 elements. Fine, it will iterate over 3 elements. तो जब ये iterate करेगा ना यहाँ पर, तो ये जब इस I के ऊपर iterate करेगा तो iterate कहाँ से करेगा, ये iterate यहाँ से करेगा कि ये जाएगा इसके ऊपर, इसके ऊपर और इसके ऊपर। ये तो काउंट हो गया उसके लिए, so इन वैल्यूज के ऊपर iterate करेगा। अब नेक्स्ट केस देखो, मैं फिर से उस फंक्शन को कॉल कर रहा हूँ, मैं अभी एग्जीक्यूट नहीं कर रहा हूँ डेलिबरेटली, मैं फिर से उस फंक्शन को कॉल कर रहा हूँ। मैंने नंबर 4 लिखा है यहाँ पर, और इसके बाद में मैंने ये इंडिकेट कर रहा है कि मैं 4 आर्ग्यूमेंट पास करूंगा, लेकिन मैंने नंबर ऑफ आर्ग्यूमेंट जो है ज्यादा पास कर दिए। कितने पास किए, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, टोटल 7 आर्ग्यूमेंट्स आई हैव पास्ड वेयर आई हैव डिनोटेड इट एज 4. So I am trying to cheat over here to see what will happen. So we will run this code. We will run this code through GCC variadic. एंड इसका भी एग्जीक्यूटेबल क्रिएट होगा और हम लोग इसको रन करेंगे। तो देखो आंसर क्या है, पहले का आया है 15 और दूसरे का 32 आया है। ये आंसर कहाँ से आया है, ये आंसर आया है यहाँ से। इट इज रिटर्निंग द सम वैल्यू आफ्टर एडिंग ऑल दी वैल्यूज, और हम लोग उसको सिंपली प्रिंट कर रहे हैं। तो इसका सम उसने क्या दे दिया है, क्या दिया था, 15। इसका सम उसने दिया था 15 और दूसरे का उसने दिया है 32. We will see that what is happening in this case. हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, हम लोगों ने पहले ये दे दिया उसका सम यहाँ पर 15. वो कैसे दिया, 3 एलिमेंट्स कहते हैं, we will add it. 4 plus 5 9, 9 plus 6 15. Fine, this is perfect. Next case I've given 7 values where I've only listed 4 values over here. अब यहाँ पर मैं टोटल करूंगा तो 32 कहाँ तक आएगा, 5 plus 7 12, 12 plus 9 21, 21 plus 11 32. यहाँ तक ठीक है. आगे के वैल्यूज का उसने क्या किया, मतलब उसने डिस्कार्ड कर दिया. सो दोज वैल्यूज आर ट्रीटेड एज गार्बेज वैल्यूज. कि उसको इंडिकेशन था कि 4 वैल्यू लेना, उसने 4 ले ली, उसके बाद के वैल्यूज से उसको कोई मतलब नहीं, सो ट्रीट देम एज गार्बेज. इससे अपना को लेना देना नहीं. ठीक है. I hope this is making more sense to you. We will revise the code once again to see what is important and what is the logic. We are creating a function which is variadic by indicating one compulsory parameter, which should be ideally the number of arguments that will be passing, comma, separated 3 dots to indicate this is variadic. We need 3 elements, VA list, VA start, and VAR. VA list is the data type of the variable that we are creating that will iterate over the values. Now VA start will ensure that we have access to the first element, the first compulsory element, and that is count. Okay. After this, we will go inside the for loop because we want to iterate over all the optional argument. In order to iterate over the optional argument, we need VA underscore ARG. Fine. And that VA underscore ARG will iterate with the help of AP, that is of the type VA list. And we have to specify the data type as a compulsory part. If this much is clear, then we will move towards VA underscore end before returning the final value. It will return AP, that is the VA list, which was the counter, which was iterating over all the values. And it will return finally the sum, and which can be printed. Since we specified 3 values, those were added and printed. Since we specified 4 values, but 7 were passed, it only took the first 4 values and the rest 3 were ignored. I hope this thing is very clear to everyone. I hope this thing is very clear to everyone.
So nobody is mentioning it in comment. Yes, sir. They are saying yes.
Okay, fine, absolutely. Okay, we have another case now here. Now, please pay attention to this problem, as I will be giving you a comparative problem after this program. So I want everyone's absolute attention on the screen right now. And after this program, there will be a competitive code that will be shared with you. Also, there will be another topic, that is how we can make use of structures inside functions. So if you guys have stamina left, we can very well go to that topic as well. So we'll finish this topic and then you let me know. Okay, so now this case is again using variadic function, but we are trying to make a different manipulation over here. We are trying to calculate average in this case. We are trying to calculate average in this case with the main function passing some values like 2, 3, 4 to a function that is average. Then we have another call to the same function average, this time with 3 values as optional values. So we have 3 comma, that is 3 is the compulsory value, and the rest 3 as optional argument, same as in first case. 2 as compulsory element, which denotes the count, number of argument. So we have only 2 values to be passed. So these values, let's say for the first call, we are passing 2, 3, 4. So what will happen now? Try to visualize along with me. As I move the cursor, try to come along with the cursor and visualize. Call गया average के पास, integer number check किया, क्या value था नीचे 2 से जो आया, that was 2, because we are calling this function average. पहला value क्या गया 2, so it understood कि count 2 हो सकता है. यहाँ पर VA list टाइप का हमको एक वेरिएबल क्रिएट करना है, मैंने उसको वही नाम दे दिया. VA अंडरस्कोर लिस्ट कंपलसरी पार्ट है, कीवर्ड है, मैंने उसको नाम दे दिया VA list. You can give it anything. नेक्स्ट हम लोगों ने सम को इनिशियलाइज किया 0 से i को भी क्रिएट किया यहाँ पर. उसके बाद हमको क्या करना है, ये जो हम लोगों ने VA लिस्ट का वेरिएबल क्रिएट किया, इसको हमको स्टार्ट करना है. इसको पहले कंपलसरी आर्गुमेंट पे लेके जाना है. तो हम लोग लिखेंगे VA अंडरस्कोर स्टार्ट, pass the VA list type of value, that is VA list we have denoted. It will iterate, it will keep its pointer to the first value, the first compulsory value. Okay, so that value is number, that is the value 2 we have passed. Now it will iterate over the number of values which are passed through the for loop. अब ये iterate कैसे करेगा? It will iterate with the help of VA underscore ARG through this argument, and it will be able to iterate through this function with the help of variable VLS, which is going to point each and every value inside the list of values that we are passing as arguments. And the data type has to be mentioned as integer. Once this is done, I can come out of the for loop and I can end it. I can end the iteration, and thereafter I can return. What I will return is sum divided by num. So I'm trying to return an average from this program. So it will display me the average over here in this case. So let us see what information does it give. Similarly, for the other case also, the number of argument is 3. So it will take the number as 3, and then for the rest of the argument, it will keep on iterating. So 5, 10, 15 all will be iterated. Let us see the output in this case. As you can see, we have the answer as, we call the function, we got the answer as this average that we have tried to take 3,4, we have got the average as 3, because we have made the data type as integer. We have made use of the data type integer. So it is not going for the decimal part. Similarly, the average of 5 plus 10 plus 15, it is giving us 10, because in this case, there is no problem that we have with the data type, because the value is the whole number that we are getting. So I hope the thing is clear. We need a VLS type of data type. Then we need VS start, with the help of which the actual program execution starts in the variadic function. VLS will iterate over all the values. It will come to know what the number of values to be iterated from this as a compulsory argument. VA argument will enable the VList variable to iterate over all the optional elements here. All the optional elements will be iterated here in this case, and we will end that variable list execution and then return. So this is important. The sequence is important to be remembered. Okay. Now with this, we are, I think, only left with one topic. No, there are two topics. String functions I'll take later on. So that is very easy. We will discuss about structures as parameters in functions. So now you guys tell me whether you want to visit a problem, or I shall finish this topic for now and then give you the problems to do. I think we can proceed for parameters if everyone has been able to connect so far. Okay, since there is no mention, I believe either everyone is very attentive and interested, or maybe they have transitioned to some other world, which I would not want to. So anyways, we will start with the next topic, that is structures. Okay. Now we are moving to the highest part of functional programming is C. We will see that here. Which one do I wish to take first? Okay, we will take this as a first case. Okay, can you all just shout once for me? How's the Josh?
Hi, sir.
Okay, I think it was too high. I was logged out of the meeting. Anyway.
Sir, everybody has replied with hi, sir, in the comments.
Sorry.
They have replied as hi sir in the comments.
Yeah, I've seen that. Okay, fine. Chalo, we will move on to structure concept. This is going to be very interesting, and this will take you to the highest level of C functional programming that is possible.
So the screen presentation is off.
Oh, sorry. Thanks for reminding me. All right, everyone. So we are here with structure programming. So we all know what is structure. It is an entity which is holding up, binding a collection of entities together. So you might have already gone through what is a structure basically. So I'll not go into much detail of that, but how we can use it productively with our functions, that is my intention. So this is a structure that I've created with the keyword struct, and it contains two entities. One is length and breadth. The data type is integer. Okay. Now I have another function that is area, where I'll be using this structure. So how we will use that, we will see that shortly. Before that, we have a main function here, and in the main function what we are trying to do is we are trying to create an instance of this structure rectangle as R1 and passing the values 10, 5. So this R1 is holding two values for length and for breadth. That is an instance. R1 is an instance of the structure rectangle. Similarly, we have R2, which is holding again two values, 7 and 5, which is for length and breadth respectively. So this R1 and R2 are coming from the structure rectangle, which is already created on the top. Now the intention is to pass R1 and R2 as a parameter to the function area. Now this is a function area which is capable of accepting input. That input is an argument, but that input should be a structure. It means there will be a collection of values that will be passed, and those values will be stored in R3. So R3 will be the instance pointing to those collection of values. Now the printf statement, we are printing the first area by passing R1 value. That R1 contains length and breadth 10 and 5 respectively. R2 contains 7 as length, 5 as breadth. Okay, so when we make a call, these values will be passed to R3. अब सबसे पहले R3 में कौन सा वैल्यू जाएगा? R1 का जाएगा. R1 के वैल्यू जो जाएंगे वो जाएंगे 10, 5. अब R3, क्योंकि it is also an instance of the rectangle structure which we have created here, it has the rights to access length and breadth element. So अब R3 क्या करेगा? It will access R3.length into R3.breadth, and that will be returned. And whatever is the return value, we are printing that. We are printing the area value over here. So this R3 will get the access of length and breadth because it is also an instance of structure rectangle. And R3 is getting the values from R1, which is holding 10 and 5. R1 again being an instance of structure. So when we run this code, sorry about that. I hope it is visible now. The first area is 50, the second area is 35. So we have been able to pass the values. First area is 50, 10 into 5, second area is 35, 7 into 5. So we have been able to pass the values of a structure through a function as a parameter variable. फिर से देखते हैं, structure create किया, length और breadth define किया, उसी structure का instance R1 create किया, दो value डाल दिया 10 और 5, which are respective to length and breadth. This R1 is passed to a function call that is area as a parameter, as an argument, sorry, and this argument is visible to us as a single variable. कि R1 कोई single variable है, but it is holding two values. These values are accepted by R3 because it is also an instance of structure rectangle. R3 being an instance of rectangle can access length and breadth with a dot operator, and it is returning their multiplication. Now this length and breadth value R3 is able to get from R1, which is 10, 5, and from R2 as well when it runs second time as 7, 5. I hope this is clear to everyone. So this is this can be considered as one of the highest functional style of C programming, wherein you get a feel of object-oriented approach. If you people have studied Java, some of you whom I have studied Java or have little bit idea Java is about object-oriented approach in which we create objects, we create classes. So you can consider this rectangle to be a class-like thing. R1 as its object, and length and breadth as its member, which can be accessed through the object or through the instance with the dot operator. We will take another example here. This will have slightly more features for us to execute. So again, we are creating a rectangular structure, length and breadth. Then we have a method which is void type. Then it has a pointer this time. This is interesting. It has a pointer this time, and it is taking two more arguments, length and breadth. It is supposed to be from LLB. Then there is another function area which contains an instance of structure, and it is returning the product of length and breadth, just like what we have seen. Then we have another function. The intention here is to see the changes, whether it is reflected in the actual parameter or not, if formal parameter makes any changes. So for example, in this case, if I'm trying to change something with respect to length, whether it is also visible in the actual parameter or not, that we'll see. Okay, so good. This is the instance of rectangle created as R. We are calling the init function. We are passing the address of R this time. We are passing the address of R this time to what? To the init function, because init has a pointer type variable waiting here to accept an address value. So we're passing here the address value. Then we also have two values, 5, 7. So this time 5 is for L, 7 is for B. So those will be assigned as length and breadth. So how you can access length and breadth of this rectangle? That is because with the help of this arrow notation, you can access the length, and whatever is the value that has come to L from the argument that was passed, let's say it was 5. So that 5 is now assigned to the length of this instance R. So now R variable, which is a pointer variable, is actually holding the value of L and B. Fine. Next, what has been done is we are printing the area simply, and also we are making a call to a function that is change length. We are calling the function change length, and over here we try to make some manipulation. So let us see how this code works, what is the output, and then we'll try to correlate with the code again. So this is okay, so it says the area is 35 and the new length is 10. See here, this is supposed to be the length and this is supposed to be the breadth part. So when I call this init function, what it will do is it will have the access of length and breadth value, L and B. यहाँ से पास हुआ, length और breadth R के पास में आ गया. Next क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पर अब? उसके बाद में हम लोगों ने किसको कॉल किया है? We have called the area function in this printf statement. Area function में हम लोग R का value pass कर रहे हैं. ठीक है? We are simply passing the value of R. This time we are not writing the address. We are writing the value as R. Now, when we call the area function as R, it is returning us the length and breadth का multiplication. That is the area of rectangle, length into breadth. It is able to access length and breadth because it contains an instance of rectangle structure, that is R denoted over here. So when we pass R, that R is already holding length and breadth. We have already initialized that in this function because all these functions are correlated with the structure rectangle. So it has the access of length and breadth. So this area is calculating length into breadth. So that is passed and returned over here. Fine. Now, next what we do is we create, next what we are doing over here is we are calling the change length function with the address R and the value 10. So this time what I'm doing is I'm calling the change length function, which is waiting for the address of R, which is a pointer again here. And also it is waiting for an input that input will be an argument coming from change length function call that has to be some integer value of length for length. So we are passing that as 10. तो हम लोगों ने यहाँ पर क्या किया, L का वैल्यू चेंज कर दिया. तो हम लोगों ने यहाँ जो R के लिए लेंथ असाइन किया था, that we have changed over here, and that is 10. So when we print this, we have a new length, and that is getting printed from the print function of change length. So that is the reason. We'll see that through code. First of all, we are able to print the area because we have initialized the length and breadth from the first function. Then from area function, we are calculating and returning. Then we have another function where we are passing the value of R, and the new value that is passed, same is reflected over here, and we are printing that inside this function. Okay, so this is how you can make use of structure. You can correlate the functions, main function as well as the other user defined function. And you can bind the entire program with the help of structure and structures instance, which we are making user in the form of R. So this problem I specifically wanted you to show the power that functions give us when structure is combined with them to make C appear as an object-oriented programming. Okay, and one last topic is remaining. I think that is very easy. You all have discussed. That is about string functions. And with this, I'll end my session, and I'll give you a couple of problems to solve. And maybe we'll meet after an hour to discuss the solution if you have not been able to get that. Okay, so this string functions is another like inbuilt functions for which we need to include string.h, that is a header file. We create two string type of values, s1 and s2. So basically string values क्या होते हैं कि मतलब वो array values, those are separated, and at the end जो escape character होता है that is 0 to ensure that we have reached the end. So there are multiple ways of creating a string. We can also create this in the form of array as well. If you know, we can create this into, we can bring this into this format, and we can separate each value by comma. Similarly, this value by comma, and so on. And at the end, we specify a special character to denote the end of the string. So this is the way how we create a string, how we denote a string. And we can now see the various functions which give us the capability to manipulate item. तीसरा string मैंने create किया just with the size कि इसके 30 elements की capability होगी. Now what I'm doing is I have certain string functions with me which I want to make use of. Those functions are this. Concatenate के लिए to join to string we have strcat, to copy string 2 into string 1 we have str copy, to give the length of string 1 of any string, let's say we have str length, and to compare whether two strings are similar or not based on their sky value we have str cmp for comparison. तो अब मैंने एक ही प्रोग्राम में 3 स्टेटमेंट में सारे फंक्शंस इंक्लूड कर दिए. पहला मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ कि मैं कॉन्कैटिनेट कर रहा हूँ स्ट्रिंग 1 और स्ट्रिंग 2 को, माधव और व्यास दोनों को कॉन्कैटिनेट कर रहा हूँ. इसको कॉन्कैटिनेट करने के बाद में मैं s3 के अंदर उसको कॉपी कर रहा हूँ बिकॉज आई एम इंक्लूडिंग ऑल दिस इनसाइड str कॉपी. और इसको मैं प्रिंट कर रहा हूँ with the help of puts function. So gets and puts, you might be aware if you have studied string, in order to fetch and in order to print the value we make use of gets and puts. Similar to this puts, it is similar to printf, but specifically we use when we are dealing with strings in certain cases. Coming to next line, printf the length of string value 1. So string 1 का length जो है मेरे को print करना है. Then there is another option. I can reverse the string with str rev function. The last statement I can compare string 1 and 2. string 1 का sky character का value ज़्यादा बड़ा है या 2 का ज़्यादा बड़ा है. अगर 1 का s1 का बड़ा है s2 से length यहाँ पर string values का sky character value, तो मुझे जो है +1 में आंसर मिलेगा. अगर दोनों सेम है string s1 और s2, s1 is Madhav, s2 is also Madhav, तो value मिलेगा 0. If s1 is lesser than s2, तो आंसर मिलेगा -1. Okay, so quickly now this has concatenated both the values, and it has also copied this inside s3, and thereafter what we are doing is the length of string s1 is 10. Why is it so? Because we have already concatenated s1 and s2. s1 s2 concatenate किया तो s1 में दोनों के values आ गए, s1 के s2 के. So the length of my name plus surname, it gives you 10. Then the reverse string of s2 में क्या था? व्यास था. So said it is reverses as SAYV. And finally comparison of S1 and S2. So this is giving us -1. So it means S1 is smaller than S2. Okay. So with this, we are done all the activities from my side in terms of teaching you topic. Now there are two problems which I've included. One is this, I'll just see. Sure. One is this problem of HackerRank. Now, since I've announced this is on HackerRank, I would want you all to visit the site, but I would not want you to see the solution somewhere. I would want you to think of it. This is a problem based on student marks. So I believe every one of you are aware of how to use HackerRank. If not, then let me know. I'll explain by sharing the screen. You can write in the comment. So this problem statement has been given to you, and you only need to design a function wherein some input, if given to you, like for the number of students, their marks and their gender. So every odd number of elements will denote that it is a boy's marks, and every even number of entry will denote it is a girl's mark, if I'm not wrong. Just check, visit this problem statement once again. So your problem statement here is that you need to design a function which, if given some number of values, it should be able to calculate and separate the boys marks as well as the girls mark. Because as I said, the problem statement said कि बॉयज और गर्ल्स के मार्क्स ऑल्टरनेटली ऑकर होंगे. जैसे अगर ऑड नंबर के वैल्यू, पहला वाला जो वैल्यू डिनोट करेगा कितने नंबर ऑफ एंट्रीज है, लेट्स से 5 है, तो अब यहाँ से हम स्टार्ट करेंगे 1 से. तो 1 के बाद 3 के बाद 5, ये सारे ऑड वाले जो नंबर है, मान लो ये हमारा अगर 1 है, तो ये सारे जो ऑड नंबर है ये डिनोट करते हैं बॉयज के मार्क्स, और 2 और 4 जो डिनोट करते हैं गर्ल्स के मार्क्स. तो हमको ये सेपरेटली ऐड करके प्रिंट करना है. ठीक है, तो इस तरीके का फंक्शन डिजाइन करना है. नाउ आई वांट यू ऑल टू विजिट द प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट ऑन द HackerRank साइट, और आई विल शेयर द फाइल एज वेल ओवर हियर विथ यू. It's better if you visit HackerRank, because over there the entire problem has been made for you. Only the function part you are supposed to make and run your test cases against. So ये हो जाएगा student marks वाला problem. उसी में, now this problem is under the functions category on the C programming page. On that same page you will also find a problem if you have selected the option of only getting the functions function concept related problem in C. The second problem that you can see is of variadic function. तो अगर आप लोगों को ये यहाँ तक का फंक्शन एकदम क्लियर हुआ है, वेरियाडिक फंक्शन एकदम क्लियर हुआ है, you will be able to solve the entire problem. वेरियाडिक फंक्शन में तो आई थिंक I've made it very easy. आपको कुछ भी नहीं करना होगा. The code that I've just displayed, अगर आपको पूरा समझा है, you can easily solve it. If you need more time, I can give you. Maybe by evening, you can respond to Abhijit, and you can Abhijit will let me know whatever the number of entries that have been submitted. एक बस catch मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूँ, so that you do not look for a solution while you are solving this problem. Since you are making, you are going to opt out between whether you have to calculate girls marks or boys marks, आपको यहाँ पर ternary character का एक use करना पड़ सकता है. The question mark that we use, the ternary character, to select the option coming after that as the first option if the condition is true. If not true, then colon and then the second option. I hope you are aware of the ternary character in C, जो हम लोग इस तरीके से लिखते हैं. ठीक है, अगर ऑप्शन सही होता है तो ये वाला ले लेता है, नहीं तो फिर कोलन के बाद का जो वैल्यू होता है वो वाला ले लेता है. So that is just the hint that I would like to throw for the student number problem. And the second problem, I will check whether I've downloaded the problem statement or not. I think I've not downloaded the problem statement, but in case if it is, no. I would want you to see that for yourself when you visit the HackerRank page. आप सी प्रोग्रामिंग में जाओ, वहां पर आपको फंक्शंस करके जो साइड में सब टॉपिक है वो सिलेक्ट करो. आप उसमें पहला इजी लेवल पे चले जाओ जिसमें आपको स्टूडेंट्स वाला ये प्रॉब्लम मिलेगा. आई वांट यू टू अंडरस्टैंड द प्रॉब्लम, द केस स्टडीज व्हिच आर गिवन, टेस्ट केसेस, सॉरी. Thereafter the second problem you will get in the medium level of programming. In that you will get a problem associated with variadic function. If you have absolutely understood each and every point, you'll be able to solve it without any problem or without even referencing or even Google. You will not be able, you will not need even to Google something around. Okay, so I think it's been a long session, so I'll give you much more time than 1 hour. Maybe by evening you can all submit your answers to Abhijit. Abhijit will share a link where you all can, maybe submit your screenshot or something. Is that okay, Abhijit, for everyone?
Yes, sir. So what I can do is I'll make a Google form and they can
Yeah.
submit their code and the screenshot together in a Word document and they can share the link
Okay.
there. Right.
Okay. Oh, all right. I hope you all have been able to follow all the concepts that has been covered in this function session. With this, I believe every aspect of functions in C has been touched properly with enough programs. So you'll be able to solve any problem that is asked with respect to functions in C. Any queries if you have, you can write it in the chat box. Or if you have understood well, that also you can mention so that I know that you have been able to receive whatever I was transmitting. I know it's been a long session, but I hope you all have been able to understand. All right, so here we end our session for the functions part, and I will send you a goodbye message here. There's a beautiful story which I wanted to read out for all. Let me just see if audience are willing to, because I would not going to deliberately be the speaker if people are tired.
So we would love to hear the story.
Okay, I know, Abhijit, you are the host. You have to be kind to me. I was waiting for the people.
No,
Okay,
sir,
anyway.
people are suggesting that we should go for the story.
Okay, all right, fine. So, yeah, let me just clear my thought. Okay, so before I start with my story, I just want to say something and then I'll start with my story. So we all are aware that our parents are always have two basic concerns with us, that we should settle in life and prosper by the time they retire, and which most of you might be experiencing right now when you have talked with your parents. Second is what their child shall do when they are not around. Now, when they are not around could mean anything, and I would start with a story here to send a beautiful message around to everyone. And this will also act as a stress buster for me as well after this long session. So once there was a Seth Karodmal from a small village in Petmoda. This name I've just created on my own. And he was on his deathbed when he called his son Bholumal to have a last conversation with him. And just to give him last few advice for his life, since he will not be around anymore. He said to Bholumal, "Listen very carefully, Bholu. I may not be able to the advice that I'm about to give you forever in. Always go to work and come back when. Second, always ensure you have at least one employee who can scold you daily without any hesitation. Third advice, whenever you feel troubled or things are not working out as planned, look for advice from a person who has three legs or a three-legged person." And he left the world with a partial smile and concern on his face. Now, Bholumal, after listening to his advice and after completing all the afterlife kriyas, saddened by his father's demise, After a period of 2 weeks, he finally walked to open his shop. Since they had a business, a shop, which he had to open. Now, after a gap of 2 weeks, as he stepped out of his home, he sensed the strong sun rays piercing his skin pores, and suddenly his father's words echoed in his ears. Bolu, remember, always go to work and come back when there is no sun over your head. Suddenly, Bolu stopped, puzzled what to do next. Should I go to open the shop or should I come back home? Now he comes back to home finally after a lot of brainstorming with self, and he comes to a conclusion. Now for that conclusion, he calls his shop's caretaker. An announcement, the story will take 2 to 3 minutes, but a beautiful message at the end. So I would want to plug in your earphone for clarity. Now he comes to a conclusion, he calls his shop's caretaker and says him to tie a long stretch and wide enough white cloth from his house to the shop, which is a 2-minute walk. Now this he does so that he can beat the heat and no sun shall ever be above his head. Now feeling like patting his own back, he decides to call the day off and rest. Now the next day, as he starts walking from his home towards the shop, he feels the pride with which he had laid this idea of covering the road from his home to the shop. And he feels that he will be wowed by the people for his brilliant idea. On the contrary, people hide their faces and laugh when they see him for this solution. Some people even come and praise him, like what an idea, Sarji, but they too would start laughing as soon as he departs. Finally, after a walk of 2 minutes, he reaches his shop. Now, as he lifts the shutter along with the shutter sliding voice, his father's words again echoes in his ears. He says, Bolu, always ensure you have at least one employee who can scold you daily without any hesitation. Suddenly, he is interrupted by their account manager, Munimji, whom they call it. Munimji suddenly says, Bolu said, why did you waste so much money in covering the road from home to shop unnecessarily? Bolu suddenly gets ached with his interruption and unasked advice. He gets irritated. Now he thinks, what should I do with my father's advice is my first concern instead of this arrogant old man, Munimji. Without much further thoughts, he calls his very loyal account keeper, Munimji, and says, Munimji, you may not come from tomorrow and please send for a new profile of work who can scold me daily, abuse me daily, and I will pay him as good amount as I pay to you, because my father has said me so. I need an employee who can scold me daily, abuse me daily. I do not need you. Munimji pleaded a lot, tried to explaining the situation. Why did he interrupt it? What did he say? What did he mean? But Bolu did not agree. Finally, Munimji left. A few hours later, a drunkard, a person who was drunk heavily, was seen by Bolumal passing by his shop. Bolu looked at him and felt he could be the best candidate for abusing me daily. He would not even need motivation for abusing me. He approached the drunkard and said, hey, will you work from me for tomorrow? Your job will only be to scold me daily and I will pay you very good price for it. The drunkard felt as if he was either too full or was having a poor quality thing, and this man in front of him was a level even above him with his drinks for the kind of offer that he was laying in front of him. Finding his profit in this jackpot deal, the drunkard readily agreed immediately and joined him in his shop. Now comes the biggest disaster. He had fulfilled the two promises. Now he had spent so much money, everyone started mocking Bolumal openly. The money he was spending on drunkard abuser as his salary, along with the tent shade cost and bad business decisions, brought to a stage of becoming empty pocket almost. He could not sleep that night when he came across the reality that his pocket was empty now. The next day, he searched his entire village for a person with 3 legs because he remembered his father has said, whenever in difficulty, find a person with 3 legs. He told people to look for such a man and get to him. All these efforts were going in vain as he could not find a 3-legged person even after 3 days. So finally, Bolu, again with his intuitive mind, issued an ad in the newspaper seeking for 3-legged person who will be paid good to meet Bolu and counsel him. Also, an award will be given to the person who brings such 3-legged person. Now, the very next day, a man from the nearby village reached Bolu's shop with a fake plastic leg and posed himself as a 3-legged person. He too wanted to ride on this fool Bholu's money. After talking to him for a minute, Bholu agreed to keep him on work as an advisor. Now, Bholu was not only the talk of his village but nearby villages too because of this man that he had appointed. The same evening came Mr. Ramdas ji, who was a very good and old friend of Bholu's father. He reached his shop, he sat down, and he said to Bholu, Bholu, I saw your ad in the paper looking for a three-legged person, so I came here. Bholu said with a grin on his face that, Uncle, I know you are father's close friend, but I gave the ad because he advised me to do so when in trouble. And I found someone today with 3 legs finally. And I am a man of my words, he said in a heroic gesture with folded hands. Now with a smile of pity on Ramdas ji's face, remembering his very intelligent friend who was no more around, he said to Bholumal, your father's advice had a completely different sense than what you made out of it, Bholu. Your father had called me a few weeks before he passed. He was concerned about you. He gave me this cash that I've come with to hand it over to you. He was sure that even after plenty number of attempts of he giving you advice, you never heard of him. So while leaving the world, he gave you these advices in a cryptic way so that you can learn your life through the lessons that you get after falling. He was a great father, I must say. Now let me just tell you the meaning that he wanted to convey. At first, the sun over the head to be avoided meant you should wake up early, Bholu, leave for work before noon, and only come from work after working tirelessly till the sun sets. The second advice of hiring a person who can scold you without hesitation, by this he meant to have an honest employee who can tell you when you're wrong and you remove the perfect man for it. You're very loyal and vocal Munimji instead. At last, the most important advice about the 3-leg person to be met when you feel no way from somewhere getting out. It was not about a person who is born with 3 legs, but an aged man, a senior man with enough experience to guide you with solution from his wisdom and own life experiences. Stumped by this explanation, Bholu knew no words to express his stupidity that he committed. Ramdas ji consoled him and suggested him to walk the path his father wanted him to, and call him or any senior person in his life whenever he feels like he's stuck somewhere, he wants to discuss any issues of life, is not able to get an immediate solution. Now the first 2 warnings, the first 2 advices Bholu was clear with. Now what about this third person? Suddenly, by saying Namaste, Ramdas ji walks away with a stick in his support. The third leg. Yes, the third leg of support, the old man with an experience. Now what message can we get out of it? Yes, for all of you, work and study in a good routine, in a systematic manner. I know it feels like a hostel life. Initially it felt much, but now we realize the responsibility that this time is giving us. Second, always keep at least one brutal, honest friend with you. It could be a colleague or an employee as well, to correct you, guide you. And of course, to encourage you, you can have another friend, as just say, her friend zaruri hota hai. And last but most important, always walk for advice to a senior person. When you feel stuck or seek motivation or clarity, whatever you may say that. It could be your senior fellow, it could be a student in the same college who is senior to you, it could be a faculty. I know in this current generation, everything is available online on Google, YouTube and everything. But still so many of you have valued the internship that is planned for you. You all decided to come for it. And I'm greatly thankful for everyone who is connected till now. I thank you everyone once again.
Thank you, sir. If it's important to you, you'll always find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse, said Ryan Blair. Good afternoon. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Ashish Jadhav sir for always motivating her. And I'd also like to express my heartiest thanks to Mr. Madhav Vyas sir for taking out time and taking such an amazing session on functions in C and sharing this amazing story with us. And more importantly, thank you all the participants for joining us here today. This simply reflects your dedication to learn and achieve more and push yourself towards excellence. And as Abraham Lincoln said that, always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any one thing in your life. Let us all resolve to succeed and no matter what happens, because then everything else will shift in the background. We will meet again tomorrow at 9:45 a.m. for the session on Java concepts by Mr. Sachin Bhupi sir. Until then, keep practicing on HackerRank, solving the challenges, keep struggling, and keep finding the answers to the struggles. Stay safe and don't forget to ask your queries in the discussion forum. Thank you.